So welcome back to the Carpenter's Daughter YouTube channel. In this week's episode, we'll find out if Vicky really did cut her hands.
You got red on you.
Would she recommend a Wagner paint sprayer? And what type of stain you should really be using. Stay tuned to find the answers. So when I shared my video recently on how I changed my mortise lock on my garage door, I had quite a few comments to say it needed oiling, which I'd already done by that point, but it's just taken me so long to share this video. And I'd also had loads of comments saying, "Oh, ouch, poor girl's hands," and "What on earth did you do to your hands?" But what had really happened was I didn't wear gloves while I was staining the first part of our fence, and thankfully it was just red cedar wood stain. But I also thought this was the perfect opportunity to review the Wagner fence and decking sprayer system that I'd received last year, but the weather's been terrible. So as usual, it's not swaying me to be positive. I truly believe these kind of reviews need to be unbiased because, as my parents always taught me, money's hard earned, easy spent. So I started off with a fence at the back, and this one technically belongs to our neighbours. They really do need replacing, but that's completely up to them. But we just wanted to tidy it up because the garden was looking really drab. So I didn't use a spray system for this for a number of reasons. Firstly, because some of these panels are rotten and they've got holes in. I didn't know what was on the other side, so I didn't want to permanently stain whatever they've got. And second of all, which I think is the biggest point about a spray system, is the preparation. I don't really like that part, but as you'll notice later on, the moment you do it, it speeds up everything. But I've tried both the indoor one now and the outdoor one, and the outdoor one wins by far because there's even less preparation that you need to do, unless you've got an empty house with no carpets and stuff like that. So once I'd got stain all over my hands, it was now time to tackle the lean-to shed that my dad made. And something I think needs to be educated to everybody out there is not to always believe what it says on the tin. And my dad later told me that the red cedarwood stain was more like coloured water. If it doesn't say the word preservative, then it's not going to treat the wood. And what I also didn't know at the time is that you should be oiling it first, leaving it a few days to dry, and then adding a colour. But I now know you can get oils that have a colour as well. But this time, instead of coloured water, I bought 2 of these cans of 5-year Duck's Back, but I'll tell you whether I like the colour or not shortly. So here's a Wagner fence and decking sprayer, and you can see it's being used and loved because it's got red cedar stain all over the hose. And what I found with using their sprayers for the first time was it was very messy to set up, but after a few goes I learned the best thing to do was place a reservoir in a cardboard box. What I would do is give the paint a really good stir.
Oh my god, this looks horrible.
And place the top end of a pop bottle straight inside so it acts like a funnel. And with some of the paints you may find you've got to thin it out. So you can see I've got some water in the background here, and I'll just add a touch and just see how I get on initially. So the spray head just twists on, and just using some old footage, it's a good idea to do a test spray on some old cardboard, because if you twist the nozzle, it aims in different directions and you can find out what is best for you. And then I just twist on the handle, which is attached to the hose. Now what you use for the preparation is up to you. Wagner do sell a kit. It does come with 2 types of rolls. This plastic shield, but to be honest I use cardboard quite often for that. And then masking tape and a cutter. But if you don't have the time to shop around and you just want to get the job done, I'll leave the links below. Now normally I use rags on the floor. I don't like throwing stuff like that away just in case it's useful, but this plastic sheet and a roll was brilliant. And again, I haven't thrown them away since I've used it. And I just cut it down to the length I wanted and opened it out, and it was rather big. And then I'm using one of the rolls with masking tape on the end, and because it was a slightly breezy day, I had to make sure I protected about 1 metre of that paint. So this is when the action starts happening. And I gave it all a first coat going from side to side. But getting back to this colour autumn gold, it was a shock the moment I opened the tub and when I'd applied it, because I thought I'd made a terrible choice and it just looked a horrible bright yellow.
Please dry nicer.
Oh, and make sure you buy a good respirator and an eye mask. So while that was drying, I moved on to the garage door and just cut the edges using the sprayer and the yellow plastic piece. And again you can see masking tape on the hinges, on the handles, and just repeated the staining method. So the shed is starting to look a bit darker now, but I didn't half have a laugh on Instagram, and a lot of you said it looked like Dale Winton. Coincidentally, a few days before he died, somebody said baby poo, but some of you assured me as well that you'd use this stain and that it dries so much better. And after about 3 coats each, you can see it started to look a bit darker, so that was a huge relief. So now on to the fencing that my dad made, and you can see I'm reusing the plastic sheet here. So to stain my first one, I decided to slightly lift the panel and trap that sheet underneath. So I'm going along right up until my tree, which was a pain in the bum, but for the concrete fence post, I absolutely love this roll with the masking tape, and I didn't get stain anywhere on the posts. So just like the back, I'm using the coloured water, and they quickly just gave it a second coat. So I'm hoping you've learned something from this, because by the time I did my second panel, I thought, right, let's go for gold. Let's just masking tape the whole lot of it now. Then I don't have to keep stopping and starting, and I can just spray it all in one go. And that I found was the easiest way to do it. And I just got in the zone. So after giving it about 3 coats, it was time to finally stain my decking. But it's looking even worse here because we'd gone over it with a pressure washer a few weeks before. So now I'm moving my planters away, and before I got started on that, I made sure there were no stains stuck to the container. But something I must stress is to make sure you clean the nozzle as well. So this is where I think I went wrong with this, but there is a paint stirrer that it comes with where you can poke through the holes. So obviously I didn't want to get the concrete posts in the background, and I used a viewer's tip to hold back some cardboard because it could be useful. This was a massive box that I kept from my oven installation video. And to make life easier, I've decided to use exactly the same stain that I used before, Ronseal Ultimate Protection Decking Stain in Country Oak. But before I poured it in, I made sure there were no seedwood inside by filling it up with warm water and just spraying it onto a rag until it was clear. So I've now got the stain in the reservoir. It was time to plug it in and get cracking. But this time, strangely, the moment I turned it on, it started spraying everywhere without me even pulling the trigger. And for a while I was confused, thinking I hadn't set it up right because it's been a while since I've read the manual, and I'd found part of the nozzle had broken off, which also must stop any stain escaping until you press the trigger. But I'm pretty sure this was my fault. If it wasn't, then normally in this situation I'd go back and ask for an exchange or a refund, but because I found the indoor sprayer interchangeable with the outdoor one, I could just carry on. But has this put me off? No, it hasn't. Because I know how many hours I've saved by using it, and I've used it on so many jobs.
Oh, yes. We are back in business. You can't be around for much longer, you know. I don't want to spray you. Oh, even better.
So I carried on as normal, and then sprayed the front section of my planters here. Now if you're concerned that I'm spraying near herbs, don't worry. I really didn't care at this point because hands keeps weighing on them. But for the back planters that we moved, I decided to just go back to a paintbrush because it's a nice simple job. I didn't have to worry about masking tape this, that and the other up. So you've just got to weigh each job as it comes. And also went over the inside of my garage door and left it open so the area was well ventilated. But apparently you are doing this at your own risk because you don't really want to be breathing this in while you're working in there.